Hello everyone, and I hope you're all doing very well. We're looking at the I-16 today and setting up our joystick controls. So the way we're going to do it is I'm going to show you setting up the controls of my HOTAS. My HOTAS is a X56 SciTech. You'll probably have a different joystick HOTAS, but as I bind each control, I'll explain exactly where I'm setting it on my HOTAS, and then you can emulate that as closely as you want. The most important thing we're looking at here is which are the important controls that we want to bind to our HOTAS. When we say HOTAS, we mean the split joystick and thrust lever on the other side. So let's get going. In fact, before we go, we just say, as I say, whenever you're setting up a DCS aircraft, if you have more than one aircraft like I do, then try and keep your controls as uniform between each aircraft as possible to save confusion. So, options, controls, I-16, there he is. So we'll start, just to explain this in case this is your first aeroplane. Here is the action. There are hundreds of actions with each aircraft, but we only need to bind a few to our HOTAS. Here's the category that action fits under. Here's the keyboard bind we've got set to that action. Here's the left HOTAS, thrust lever side that we've got set to that action. Here's the right HOTAS, the control stick side we've got set to that action. So here's the aircraft. We've selected the aircraft here. First thing we're going to do is look at the axis commands. So if we look at these categories here, we can choose them here. We're going to go to axis commands. Scroll down a bit. Now I've already got my controls set up, so I'm just going to tape over the top of them. So first we're going to want zoom view. It's something we're going to need to be able to kind of zoom in and focus out on things. It'd be almost impossible to fly without it. So we're going to take the action here. We're going to take the left side of the HOTAS here. On the top right of my thrust lever, I've got a turning knob. So what I do is left mouse click here, turn the knob right, turn it left. Okay, it's picked it up as joystick Z. Then turn it to test it, and that's done. Next, we're going to do the thrust of the throttle. It's just one engine, so what we're going to do is go for this here, the left side of the HOTAS. Double click here, move the thrust stick forward, move it back. Okay, test it. Lovely. Now we're going to do the rudder, roll and pitch trims. So that we start off with the rudder. You may have pedals, in which case you'll have a separate column along here somewhere. I don't. I've got a twist grip on the joystick. So on the right HOTAS side here, I'm going to click here. I'm going to twist the joystick left and twist it right. Picked it up. Okay. Test it. Super duper. And because the rudder, the roll and the pitch, we'll have to add curves, an axis tune. It'll be very hard not to fly this aircraft without these curves. So in we go. Currently it's a linear curve, so that means the amount of input put in through the stick is going to translate directly to output into DCS. That's very bad. It's going to mean that we don't get enough detail around the really small areas of movement. So you're going to have to add some curve. How much curve you add is up to you. I add a uniform 25 on everything to keep everything simple and that's kind of the same feeling. So I'm going to go 25, and you can see get much more resolution here around the small movements of the stick, allowing me to do fine movements like landing and stuff like that. Okay, and that's all I want on there. Okay. Then I want my roll. I'm going to double click here. I'm going to move the stick left, move it right. Okay, check it. Okay, and axis tune again, and add my 25 curve. And pitch, double click, move stick forward, move it back. Okay, test it. And axis tune. And let's just neutralize that. Yeah, that's okay. Move my curve up to 25. And that's that done. Next, we're going to move on to the more binary commands of the left HOTAS. So we're going to go up to here, this guy here, and we're going to put search. This allows us to search for any command. So first of all, we're going to put the flap controls in. So flaps. Killed two birds with one stone here, actually. But wing flaps here, we've got them, we can have them down and we can have them up. And when we do this, we don't just press it once, we press and hold the button until the flaps are all the way up or down. I've got a two-way switch on the right bottom of my left thrust control lever, and I'm going to bind the up and the down as necessary. So up, I'm going to have in the up position, down in the down position, and that's that. I think we'll come back to these guys here actually. Okay, so that's flaps. And that's actually all I want on my left HOTAS, thinking about it. I could see if there's an auto start quickly, because they always help. Start. Yeah, so here's a cheat basically to start the plane if we don't want to start it ourselves, and I like to put it on a a little metal switch at the top right of the base of the left HOTAS. So I'm going to go left HOTAS there, up, and let's see if it's got a stop, shall we? And let's get a stop the other side of that switch movement, okay? A couple of things there before we go to the right HOTAS. That is, I would like to put in the search for pause. It's always good to have your active pause set up. Very useful. So I'm going to bind that as a P key. Okay, and the other thing is, some of you might need this. Search, see if I can find it. It's called pull. Primary fuel pump pull. Some people can't get the mouse button to work for this, so you need to bind it as a command in here. So I've just put it as the A key, just because, why not? Until that gets fixed. So that's just something to bear in mind. Now we're going to go over to the right HOTAS, the control stick, the buttons on that. So we're going to go to search, and we're going to go cool. So we've got the motor or the engine, cooling flaps increase and decrease. I like to have this on command rather than having to reach the lever in the cockpit. So I've got 3 4-way hats on the top head of the right joystick. The lower right one I'm going to use for this. And I'm going to use the up piece of that, up movement of that switch for, sorry, it's the wrong way around. Down for the decrease and up for the increase. Okay, next is more flaps, radiators this time. Radiator, similar thing. So we're going to go right for increase and left for decrease. That is that 4-way switch now set up. Now that I've got my top right 4-way hat switch now, I usually use this trim, but this aircraft has no trim. So what I am going to use that for, it's very nice to have wheel brakes. Wheel brakes, we've got both wheel brakes together, left wheel brake only or right wheel brake only. And I'm going to use the left and right of that top right hat switch for left and right wheel brakes. So left for left, right for right. And for both, I've got a trigger at the very bottom, kind of front base of the movable joystick, and I always use that in all aircraft as my wheel brake. So I'm going to make no exception here. That's that. Next is the landing gear up and down. This is a bit of a funny thing, this is, so let's see if I can find it. Gear. The landing gear in this thing is incredibly complicated. So the main button we've got here is up and down, and you have to press and hold them for a long time, up to about a minute. Take a long time to crank. So I've got the left 4-way. I could have put this somewhere else, but I put it on the left 4-way hat switch on the top of the right control stick. And I'm going to have, for the down, I'm going to have the left movement of it. Sorry, stupid. For down, the down movement of it. Up movement of it. And I'm going to double up now, just in case I forget. I've got a spare 2-way switch on my left control stick, and I'm going to put that on as well. So I've got down, up. It's just above where I've got my flap set. Might as well make some use of that. So in case I forget this for some reason, then I've got this set up there. That's that. No, that's not everything done because we need triggered. I'm feeling triggered. Fire the cannon. Just going to get rid of him. It's this one here. It's on the right HOTAS and it's just normal trigger 1. And we've next got the weapon release. So I'm going to release weapon release button, and I'm going to have it set on the right HOTAS as trigger 2, which I always have as my weapon release for dropping bombs and whatnot. Oh, appears to be bugging at the moment. Come on, trigger 2. There we go. Okay, so that's everything set up that I want to set up. Just keeps it in line with all of my other warbirds, but there may be other stuff that you want to set up on your HOTAS if you've got the spare buttons for it, and I'll suggest some things here. First of all, we've got our RPM. If we change your RPM a lot, you can increase it and decrease it here. That would be useful. Mixture, not sure if this is in here. Okay, we've got mixture here. Not sure that's working at the moment. It should have really mixture increase and decrease, so maybe that's not quite working at the moment. This is early access, obviously. WEP, our wartime emergency power. if I can find it, emergency power. You can have there if you want to change that, or if you want to enable that, should I say? Because it's quite a hard thing to press in the cockpit again. And the landing gear is very complex. Lots of different things you have to do to raise and lower the landing gear on this thing. So if you want to do any of that, and that would save you having to kind of look right and press and turn all these knobs. Then actually in the cockpit, that's something you may want to do. I kind of like doing the knobs and stuff because you only do it once really in a flight. So we'll do it. That's my setup. It gives you the basic skeleton of the controls. I hope that helps, and see you later.